Hello, thanks for joining me for another conversation about the really rapidly evolving circumstance and situation we find ourselves in with respect to these pending government mandates with respect to vaccines. And just to underscore the rapidly evolving part of this circumstance for us, just even in the last 24 hours, there's been some major changes that we want to relate to you and talk about sort of what's next. So you may recall that here at Wellspring, we've been really tracking two different government mandates, one from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, that impacts our healthcare work, specifically our skilled nursing and home care and hospice programs. The other is through OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which really governed everything else for large employers, which in our case was really everything else at Wellspring but that healthcare. So what's happened in the last 24 hours is OSHA, because of some court rulings and so forth, has decided to really stop implementation of their mandate. So that could change as court rulings change, but this is a little bit different than what we had heard a couple of weeks ago, even already, that there was a court stay, meaning, they were just supposed to wait a little bit and see what was going on. Now we're seeing OSHA itself saying we're not going to move forward. So that may be welcome news to many folks on sort of that side of the house, if you will. Maybe not, I don't know, but that is the news as of really late last evening. And so that leaves us with the CMS mandate for healthcare providers, which again is our skilled nursing, home care, and hospice programs. And we don't expect that to change. I know there's some court challenges being done in that realm, but it's different than the OSHA challenges because CMS actually has a contractual relationship with healthcare providers. And so they're really making it part of the contract. And their solution, if you don't like it, is you can break the contract and not do the work anymore. Obviously, that's not an option. And so we're moving forward with full expectation that the CMS mandate will go into effect according to the dates that have been established, which again, those dates are really, if you are not yet vaccinated, work in one of our healthcare sites, you need to have that first vaccine around December 5th in order to be in compliance going forward. So we've talked about that in the past. Those dates still remain the same, so I'm not going to go back into that. What I did want to spend some time talking about for those affected by that CMS mandate is the option or the availability, if you will, of accommodations. Now, in the past, maybe you've heard those referred to as exemptions or waivers to the vaccine. We're actually making sure we're using the word accommodation because that's consistent with other things in the workplace where we accommodate special needs, special requests, whether they're medical or religious, which is the case now. We've always, as an employer, had accommodations available. We've had staff who have availed themselves of those from time to time. And so we're just raising that again to remind you that there are really two forms of accommodations that are available to staff as it relates to the vaccines. One is a medical accommodation, and the other is a religious accommodation. So let me just take those real quick. The medical accommodation comes under the auspices of the American with Disabilities Act, and as you can imagine, requires a certification of a medical condition where a medical practitioner, your physician, is really going to certify to us that there are medical reasons why an individual should not take the vaccine. And so that's one accommodation that's available. And the other is a religious accommodation. And the wording on that is different. It comes through the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and really is worded such that it is a sincerely or strongly held religious belief by which an individual would not take the vaccine. And so that's a little bit different. There's no pastors or rabbis or priests that are certifying that, as there would be with a medical exemption or a medical accommodation. But nevertheless, an individual could avail themselves of that. Maybe you would have a pastor or a priest sort of write a note about that, which would be fine. It's just not required. And so we've established our our vaccine accommodation form for you if that's something of interest to you and you think you may qualify. And that's available on our Wellspring U website, along with so many other forms and resources. And that would be under the HR resources within that Wellspring U. And just know that the sooner you can avail yourself of that, if you are interested and if you think you qualify, the better. What you would do is download that form, fill it out either with respect to the medical accommodation or the religious accommodation, get that filled out, and either send it right into hr@wellspring.com. That's our email address for that. Or you could just simply get it to your supervisor and have them do that for you. Whatever the case, with these deadlines sort of looming out there for our healthcare programs, we would encourage you, if that's of interest to you, to look at that and get that turned in if that's something you believe you're going to qualify for here. And so there's a lot going on, and we know that these have been difficult times. We've been through a lot. It's been 20 plus months now of dealing with COVID. Frankly, dealing with things none of us want to deal with. Certainly nobody asked for, and yet I'm just so proud of Wellspring and your resilience and your perseverance. And as we enter this next phase with these vaccine mandates affecting our healthcare workers, I would just remind us that we've been consistent throughout, that we are interested in wanting to have conversations about this in a way that is honoring to people, that will listen to opinions. We are not going to let the conflicts and the divisiveness of the world around us on these issues sort of find its way into Wellspring. That's not how we do it. That's not the Wellspring way. And so I just want to remind us that as we go through this, these next several weeks, we want to support each other. And that means everybody, supporting everybody. And so, and for those of you who are affected by this, maybe very directly, because at this point you've chosen for whatever reason not to get the vaccine, and now and you're working in our healthcare environments, I would just ask you, really, there's two things I just put out there. One, I would really encourage you and ask that you might commit to going to see your personal physician and having a conversation with him or her prior to these deadlines. Get their advice, get their opinion, and make your decision. The other thing I would just offer is that while, of course, a mandate looms, we would just ask you to consider taking the vaccine. We ask you for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is we don't want to lose anybody, and we need you. Your residents need you, your clients need you, your coworkers need you. And so we would just ask that you would just pause and consider that. I know you've been thinking about it a lot. And so we've just asked last time for you to sort of think it through and consider what might be best for everybody here. So with that said, I look forward to continuing this dialogue. I look forward to keeping you in community going forward. So thanks for all you're doing.